Now let's talk about finding an endpoint. Given a midpoint, finding an endpoint in a coordinate plane. For example, the midpoint of segment JK is the point M, -4, 1. One endpoint is the point J, -7, 0. What is the other endpoint, K? As usual, there's more than one way to do this. I'm going to start by recalling the midpoint formula. Remember that our midpoint formula is x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2 and y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. This gives us capital M, the midpoint. We can use our formula to find the missing endpoint. Let's label point M with x and y and label point J with x and y. Now notice that this is M. That point goes here. M is -4, 1. This is only one of the endpoints. The other endpoint, K, right now, we don't know what it is, but I'm going to label the spaces x and y, because I know x goes first and y goes last. I'm going to plug in to here. One of the x's, I don't know what it is, but the other x, I do know what it is, -7 divided by 2. 0 is my other y value, and this y value I don't know, so y plus 0 divided by 2. Now I can practice using my algebra skills to find that missing x and missing y. Let's take them one at a time. So first I'm going to deal with the x's. The x's have to equal this x. So I'm going to write x plus -7 divided by 2 equals -4. And now I'm going to solve that equation. First, I want to get rid of divided by 2. So on both sides of the equation, I multiply by 2. Now I have x plus -7. Well, we can write that easier. Remember, that's the same as x minus 7. So x minus 7 equals -8. Now I'm going to add 7 on both sides, and I get that x equals -1. Now let's solve for the y's. Here are the y's, and it has to equal this y. So y plus 0 divided by 2 equals 1. How do I start to get the y by itself? Same way we did before. Multiply both sides by 2. That gets rid of the 2. And then y plus 0 equals 1 times 2 is 2. Y plus 0 is the same as just y. So y equals 2. And now I know that my missing point, K, the other endpoint, has the coordinates -1, 2. And there's my answer. Did that seem like a lot of work? Well, maybe you like it. Or let's look at another way. Second way to do it is plotting points in a coordinate plane. Now notice this time we have large negative numbers. So I want to put my y-axis way over here to this side so that I can see more of the negative numbers. Let's label this y and write that positives are up here, negatives are down here. I notice that I don't have any negative x values, so I'm going to put the x-axis fairly low. And again, mark that positives are on the right and negatives are on the left. Now let's plot our points. The midpoint is given as -4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1. There is our midpoint. It's very important that we label this midpoint with M. Maybe even put a star by it because we want to remember this is the midpoint. We're not looking for the midpoint here. J is -7, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 0. That's point J. I might label it so I remember that's not the midpoint. Now I'm going to count towards the midpoint. Again, it's really important, remember, this is the midpoint. This is the middle of the segment. That means if this is one end, the other end has to be somewhere in this area. Because remember, midpoint of a segment, that's the middle. On either side are two congruent segments. So let's find the change in y starting from J heading towards M. So from J, I only have to count up 1 unit. So that means our change in y is positive 1. Our change in x, 1, 2, 3 units. So change in x is 3 units. Recall, this kind of looks like slope. Do you remember that slope is change in y over change in x? In fact, the slope of this line is 1 over 3, if we needed to know the slope. We're trying to find the other end, so let's keep counting that slope. We went up 1 and over 3, so we do it again. Up 1, 1, 2, 3. Where do we land? Right here. That is point K. Now all we have to do is count from the origin to find where is point K. From the origin, we go left 1, so that's -1, and up 2, +2. So there is our other endpoint, K. Notice it's the same thing we got using the formula. Let's look at one more way to find the missing endpoint. Let's just jot down these points. One endpoint is -7, 0. The midpoint, -4, 1. I'm going to write an M next to it and put a big star because I want to remember this is the middle. This is the midpoint. Now, similarly to here, how we counted, that's what we're going to do now. Starting with the y's, to go from 0 to 1, that change in y is +1. We added 1. To go from -7 to -4, think of a number line. We go up by 3. So that's our change in x, because remember this is x and this is y. So our change in x is +3. We added 3. So to get to the next point, the other endpoint, we're going to do exactly the same thing. Our change in y was +1. So again, we do +1. 1 + 1 is 2. Our change in x was +3. So again, we're going to do +3. -4 + 3 is -1. And there's another way that we found the other endpoint. Notice, same answer, same answer. You choose what works best for you. Thanks for watching.